Hello and welcome to the Bloody Ghost Show, an extension of the Bloody Ghost YouTube channel. I'm your host, Matt.
I'm Madeline.
And today we're going to compare an original movie versus the remake. And we're going to look at a few things, not only what we liked and didn't like about the movie, but possibly some of the filmmaking techniques, how it really came out as a final product, you know, what hindered it. Did it have a big budget, little budget, things like that. So all sorts of stuff we'll talk about on today's show. And let's get right to it. We are talking today about the 1980 versus 2012's Maniac. This is actually something that's been suggested a lot, and a lot of people love, and I actually had never seen Maniac before.
Oh, really? Either?
No. I've seen plenty of video clips, I've seen plenty of, so many, fan, supercuts and things like that, but I've never seen it. So I'm really glad I did. I don't know why I never did it. You know, maybe because I didn't like the whole scalping thing. Scalping kind of freaks me out. Even if it's like a Cowboys and Indians type movie.
Especially if it's Cowboys and Indians.
Scalping's like, Jesus. I'm not a big fan of that. But, let's get right into 1980s Maniac, which I thought was brilliant. For something that was made for like $550,000 in 1980 in New York City. It looked phenomenal. I thought the direction was great, you know.
Yeah.
It was definitely hindered by a low budget, But
did Joe Spinell kind of look like a cross between Ron Jeremy and Trejo?
Oh my god! I didn't even think of that. Oh, yeah.
It was so
absolutely
distracting for me. He was phenomenal. He did really good.
Totally.
I love Trejo too. But yeah, he was very much he looked like Ron Jeremy a little bit.
He looked the part.
Definitely.
Yeah, there was something about his performance that, for me, I don't really know what kind of compares to it. He actually made me think that he was legitimately insane.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. It's
good.
not just some, pretty actor. It's not, anything that's, somebody's going for it. Which I thought the remake did a little bit. But this was just seeing it from his perspective, how he's torn with it, how he doesn't want to do this stuff, but he also is, driven to do it at the same time. He's
driven to do it. He's, handcuffing himself. Yeah. Inseparable.
Yeah, it's so weird. And, I never thought about photos the way he thought about photos either, where it's just you're just capturing someone forever. And I was just like, Jesus, nobody saw any red flags throughout the entire, time hanging out with Frank that he could be a weirdo. But no, I thought the original was fantastic. Yeah. Friggin' Tom Savini's makeup was awesome. For 1980, woo! That was kind of prime Savini there, you know. We had, Friday the 13th, we had, Day of the Dead, things like that. So, and it kind of looked a little Day of the Dead-y at the end there when they all kind of came back. I was like, oh, nice. But I thought it was fantastic. The kills in this were scary.
They're so good.
I loved how, they didn't let a small budget hinder them at all. It was straight up, the direction was great. The way the camera moved was just, it was totally motivated throughout the entire movie, whether it was, him, coming from Frank's perspective, or if it was coming from a victim's perspective.
So good.
Holy shit, this movie is tense as fuck. I love tense and scary movies, but for something from the 80s to still get me that good, it had Summer of Sam vibes.
Oh yeah.
And all sorts of stuff with how he'd
always. It's supposed to be New York in the original, yeah.
Yeah, the remake was Los Angeles,
Yeah, which is terrifying in and of itself.
Yeah. Especially, whenever you see close-ups of Elijah Wood. But, yeah, the just overall film was, so well put together. You could tell they really thought about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just something that they just kind of wanted to rush into or anything. It was very well developed. The character was developed. You could tell they probably went around and found these locations to shoot in.
Oh, yeah. I thought the music was just, on point. The music engineer, Ron Caciocci, just did an incredible job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I even thought the remake had a great score, too. And, they kind of, teased on the original a little bit, but, just done by Rob. Cool. But yeah, no, the original is great. I love the synth soundtrack. The kills in it were so original. When does somebody come at you with a medium child sword? When do you ever see that?
Yeah, the deaths were flawless.
Yeah. And brutal.
Yeah.
When you see him kill his first victim, obviously it opens with 2 kills, but you don't really get to see it. It kind of cuts away to him waking up screaming and things like that. But
so good.
When he kills that first hooker, I guess, in the in the hotel room, and he strangles her. And it's like cutting back between his mom's face and her face. And
the mom looked a little cheesy.
True.
I thought. Just
Absolutely.
like a tad bit. But it was the 80s, so.
Yeah. She also seemed like super young. Like, younger than the girls he was murdering, which kind of felt weird. But just showing him strangling and killing somebody and then, immediately like vomiting and being scared. And like, it reminded me kind of a little bit of like Henry. Which was like a really good kind of like look at a psychopath, I thought. But this movie was just woo. I mean, like, for instance, when he's stalking the girl all the way through the subway, all the way to the men's room.
Oh my God.
And then ultimately gets her with the like sword in the back. Like, that was fantastic. It was
so
shot
good.
really well. He's always so calm. That's the thing that's like, he didn't need a mask because like his face is just so
stoic.
Yeah, holy shit. And creepy in itself, no offense to Joe. I mean, it's still a handsome dude, man. Like, because that was the other thing is like, even though like when he's like nasty in these like kills, like I thought he was extremely charming at the same time. Like when he's with like the photographer and like the other models, and he's very polite, he brings gifts and he like compliments everyone the right way, even though he steals a necklace to go murder somebody later. I thought he was kind of charming in that way, like almost to a point where I was like, how did he like befriend the photographer in the first one?
Yeah,
because she took a picture of him at the park, but then all of a sudden he just randomly showed up at her front door, was like, hey, I'm here to get that picture you took of me.
I guess it's just like the typical like Jeffrey Dahmer vibes, like the last person you'd suspect, charming,
Holy crap, the Jeffrey Dahmer tapes on Netflix. Jesus. Don't watch that alone. He definitely had those vibes. Like, I felt like he just had this like insane range, and it was never something that like you really saw close up too much. It was like his body was like almost different. When he was gonna go kill somebody, he had this like weird kind of posture, maybe because he was wearing a bomber jacket the whole time. But like he had this like crazy posture, and it was always like, I don't know, it's just like this statue walking around that you just couldn't do anything, to like, save yourself. Like, he was gonna get you no matter what.
Well, it's super tragic though how he passed away too, and the actor did, and it's kind of a similar way, so, which is really sad. But I mean, he wasn't torn to pieces by his mannequins, but he did pass away in his apartment alone, which is really sad.
It's a bummer.
In
but
New
you
York.
left us this great treat.
It is.
Treat.
Yeah.
This great family film, Maniac. I mean, when he, like, for instance, when, like, Tom Savini and his date are, like, making out under the Brooklyn Bridge or whatever, and, like, he just appears, like, I was like, okay, this is a little creepy, whatever. Like, it's not too scary. It's a little cheesy because he's, like, like, peeking up over the window looking at him. But, like, when he just, like, is standing there in the headlights for a second with the shotgun and doesn't hesitate and, like, just, like, brutally jumps on and just, like, doesn't even wait. Like, just pulls the trigger and gives us an amazing, like, 80s, like, Scanners-esque, like, head explosion on Tom Savini. I was not only, I was like, yes, when that happened. So I was like, yes, like, head explosion. But I was terrified. Like, something about that, like,
it was scary,
like didn't trigger me or anything, but it, like, definitely, like, made me feel the most uneasy of the whole thing. Maybe it's because of the world we live in now.
Definitely.
But, like, it was just like, where do you go in that situation? Like, Tom Savini did what anybody would probably do, just like, because there was nowhere to go. Not like you could have, like, peeled out of there all cool like John Wick or something and getting out of there, but it was awesome.
It was awesome.
And like any movie that has like a grand finale and like a cemetery is
so
cool
fire.
For me.
Yeah,
I'm into that. Even though like there were so many times like I was just watching them like run by, and you could tell it was so low budget. They probably just filmed like each of those sections of that chase, like because they had the same like 2 or 3 lights like behind like headstones, and you could actually see a few of them. I remember like oh my god, there's a light, there's a stage light right there, there's the boom, there's some cables, like. But it didn't matter because this movie was so wackadoo and out there.
It was good, yeah.
And it just fit with how weird he is.
Totally.
And I just love the gore in it was really good.
I felt really good. I felt that was really, really solid. I was like, if that, I thank God I've never witnessed a scalping, but if that is what it seems, right on, right?
Yeah.
It's so gross. It's a bad way to go.
Yeah. And they did a great job of it, with, Tom Savini, legend. Amazing work on the film. And I'm kind of sad, because he's still working today. I'm surprised they didn't ask him to do the, remake. They had K&B Effects do it, which is, you can't get like Tom Savini or Rick Baker, Stan Winston anymore, rest in peace. You get K&B, who does amazing. I mean, especially in the horror world.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Evil Dead 2. That's where they all started. Like, get out of here. But, you know, I love this 1980 original. Like, I'm so glad this is the first original versus remake episode. Because, like, never seeing it and seeing this one was, like, it was, again, just really nice. Just like our French horror episode. Like,
right.
It was just such a nice breath of fresh air to just not have, like, this overly polished, beautiful, like, the entire cast is beautiful, it looks beautiful movie, because, like, sometimes it takes me out of it. I think the nitty-gritty always gets you kind of in it, you know?
Yeah, and I had seen the newer Mannequin years prior, and I totally forgot about it. Like, I couldn't even recall the name, remember?
Yeah.
But then it was good, because I watched the original, and then, like, watching both of them again multiple times, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm remembering it more, and... Yeah, it was good to see the original first at a distance in time.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, again, my wife and I were watching it, and it was like when we started watching 2012's Maniac, and it's like, I was instantly thrown off by the whole POV aspect. I guess we can get into that now.
I liked it.
I liked it to an extent.
I thought it was like the perfect perspective. Like, it really gave you like insight into his mind.
Totally. The thing that bothered me about it was you have such a great actor in Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
And I just felt like by having him like ADR all of his lines pretty much, like they really just didn't utilize somebody so good that could have really been scary. Because like in the scenes where you do see him, you know, where he's scalping that lady on the bed or whatever.
Oh, God,
like,
yeah.
Oh, my God. And like when he's like stabbing the girl in the parking lot even, like,
oh my God.
That was brutal as shit. Like, and the sound design there was really cool to where like, you know, it's like you hear that knife go through and like, it's like hitting the cement like
yeah,
through
it was
her.
good. It was really good.
It was brutal. I remember the first kill though when he's stalking her, he's going home and then he's like, please don't, you're so beautiful or whatever. And she turns around, I was like, this is going to be cool. But then I had no idea that the knife was going to come out of nowhere straight up through her like
oh my
mouth.
God, that was like my favorite.
And it was just like, and
that's
like
the opening.
This is what everybody in the room was like, what? And then the same thing, the same shot, the scalping, and her body just falls.
So good.
And then just Maniac. I was like, this is gonna be cool. This is not your grandpa's Maniac. You know?
No,
like,
it was really fire. It was so good. Yeah.
I just wish the voiceover was a little better. The sound design through everything else was so good that it just I don't know, it kind of threw me off. Like I was really enjoying the POV stuff. I wish I got to see a little bit more Elijah Wood. Maybe it was a budget constraint. Who knows? I'm glad that they did try to do more practical makeup effects.
Yeah.
In a 2012 movie, it could have been all CG stuff, and like they really just used CG to kind of blend, you know, the effects. Like I guarantee her scalping was done already, and they just used it to clean up the forehead or whatever, and went to town on the scalping. I also kind of thought it was a little goofy. I didn't like the giant knife. Like, cool, you know, whatever. It's gonna obviously scalp somebody really easily or definitely kill somebody really easily. But something about that, like, you know, that like straight razor blade, that like or even the switchblade, even to like slice, like something that doesn't take like one quick like. Whoosh, I think is so much more intense.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
it's
like,
terrifying.
Cause especially if you're alive and it's just like, you know, like, oh my God, like that is not anything I ever want for anyone on earth.
That or the Achilles heel one was like,
oh God, I forgot all about that.
It's just painful to like even remember.
And like I remember having like a slightly irrational fear of that ever happening to me in a dark parking lot. Like when you park really far away from the building and it's just you and you're just like, I can't see under my car, and then I'm just like, oh man, this would be the way they'd get me. I mean, not like I could run very far anyway. I'd get like halfway back to like from a Walmart parking lot and be dead already from a heart attack. But I liked Maniac the remake. For different reasons than I liked Maniac the original. Like the original to me is like if anybody I ever know that's an actor is like, I need to see something that I can portray as psychotic or like completely mentally unstable without camera tricks and like weird blurs to just like insinuate something's happening. Like it's just straight up almost like a stage play one-man show. I would recommend Maniac 1980.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what I when I saw Elijah Wood was on there, I was like, hell yeah, Frodo's gonna get in there and murder some people. It's gonna be sweet. Like, and just not seeing him really disappointed me. And I wish I knew that before I watched it, because I try not to read anything before I go into it.
Yeah, of course.
Because I would have been like, okay, I was prepared for the POV the whole time, but...
What did you think about the way that both of them died? Original verse. Elijah's.
Well, the original's cool because you get kind of that like Day of the Dead kind of like zombie ripping you apart thing, which I love. Cool. However, and I usually am not a fan of CG effects and stuff.
Yeah.
However, the remake had one of the coolest kills I've ever seen on screen.
So cool. It was so cool.
When he's screaming and they're ripping the skin off and they're ripping his eyeballs off and everything, and then it just appears that he's just the mannequin underneath.
So good.
That is that was the best part to me. That was the coolest thing that you could have done. Like they looked at an original thing, they improved on it in that way.
The intestines so good too. Yeah.
I just thought, and that's the thing is like Maniac 1980 versus 2012, they're similar movies because they have the same concept, but they're completely different movies.
They're totally different movies,
I did like how Maniac, the remake, did explain how he became friends with the photographer a little bit better. Yeah. She likes to like make mannequins look human, which I thought was kind of a cool thing too.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Even for photographers today, I was like, that would be a pretty cool thing. You know? It's like she's projecting her face on the other mannequins and stuff like that.
Super cool, yeah.
And it was a cool way to also explore weird kind of vintage mannequins, which was kind of cool.
It gave more insight into him.
Yeah, because they're, older mannequins are definitely have more facial features. They look kind of a little bit more human from today's, which are just like the whitewash.
Yeah.
This thing scares me every time I come into the studio. But
what does he do with the bodies? It never like really explained.
I guess he
that,
leaves
right?
the bodies naked because he takes their clothes that he kills them in.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like the coolest thing that nobody ever talks about in the movie at all. Like it's just happening, and like that is one of the coolest things in both movies when he takes their clothes, he takes their hair, and dresses a mannequin in it. And I always thought that was the coolest thing, especially in the original, because like the original is such a like funny thing, because it's like they clearly had the dummies standing up.
Yeah.
And they did all the blood and let it dry, because they're all laying like this, like on their sides, but they have like perfect like blood drips going down, like as if they were vertical and stuff. I shouldn't know so much about blood spot patterns and stuff, but it is. I don't know. I that was one thing that just dressing up the mannequins was the coolest thing. How he took their clothes.
It was cool.
Because that just reminded you of like more like, I feel like if it was just the scalps, it wouldn't be as cool to me. Like the fact that he actually keeps the clothes and everything, and he gets to kind of keep that moment forever, just like the photo, how he explains it.
Yeah.
Like, that's super cool to me.
Do you think that, like, remember the one scene where he, like, has a panic attack because there's, like, an fly infestations, probably maggots or whatever? Do you think there would be, like, that much blood still remaining?
No, but I think the scalps would start attracting flies.
For
that was
sure,
one thing that the remake did that I was like, okay, this adds, like, a more realistic, He's just always, and like that's probably why he was going even more and more insane. He's just living in this tiny room with like spraying Raid in his face every day, and he's just like poisoning himself slowly. And I like that he actually worked on mannequins. Like explained that was kind
really,
of,
that was cool.
It wasn't so much of like a weird fetish thing, as much as it was family business and stuff. But yeah, I just two things with the remake. One, I felt like they didn't utilize Elijah Wood too great.
Right.
And then also, in the same thing, I feel like if they did overutilize him, like, on camera and stuff, that it would have been too much of a pretty face. Like, yeah. Because he's a handsome guy, like, compared to Joe, I mean, it's a complete different thing. He's like half his age, looking, very clean cut, very, handsome dude. Joe, you're handsome too, man. RP. But it's one of those things where I don't know, like that was part of the character to me in the original was like his look. They found an unconventional, it was an unconventional look that was just terrifying. Not to say when you just get like a snap zoom all of a sudden of Elijah's crazy eyes that crazy. It's not terrifying.
Or when he's like laying on the bed just like,
oh yeah, we're just like, I like to watch and keep the lights on, and he's just like
terrified.
No. What was his handle? Oh,
it was something hilarious.
Timid boy or something like that. Like I was like very timid. I thought that was really funny how they used online dating to do it. And I did like the LA setting because I'll tell you what, I've been in downtown LA and I've screamed for help and nobody's ever come to help me. So
it's a scary
very
place.
Realistic. Very realistic there. And there's always a parking lot to get caged in inside in. So that pretty much sums up LA for me. It's a great representation. So I would have liked to have known kind of, just because I'm from LA, whereabouts his mannequin store was. Like, they didn't really set it anywhere. It was just
it
LA.
Felt downtown-ish.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, downtown, like, the kind of market area and stuff like that, maybe.
Seedy, terrifying
where
area.
Where a serial killer could probably, and probably does actually live in real life, and get away with it.
Yeah.
But, man, I don't know, man. They both are different movies, and they're both good.
Yeah, they're both really good.
I would say if you get a little nauseous from POV stuff, maybe the remake isn't that great for you. Maybe watch the highlight reel or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll probably cover it in deep cuts eventually, so you can always watch that and see the whole thing without getting super nauseous. But just watch the original.
Yeah.
Man, usually I'm like, I hated the original or I hated the remake.
But they're both solid.
They're both solid films.
I agree with that.
This is a good one to start our verses, because it's kind of a tie for me, because they both have equally cool things throughout.
Definitely.
You know, the scores are both awesome. I've been listening to the score.
They're so good. They're
for
like
the remake
flawless
all week, because I'm just like, because it kind of gives me this like It Follows / like Stranger Things vibe with the score.
Yeah.
It's like synthy, but it's also like Carpenter-y synthy. It's not like...
But it's like on point as well.
It's so
like
good. Just him driving around, like looking at anybody crossing the street, like that could be the next victim. That could be the next victim.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and like that's the stuff that is creepy, and I feel like is the reason I don't look at people sitting at red lights when I'm crossing the street. I'm just always like, no. Because I don't want to be the next victim. But man, they're both brutal. They're both scary as hell. I respect the fact that the remake decided to make their kind of own, movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad that some happy birds outside, because it's so scary in here. I do like that they made their own movie. I like that they set it in a different city to where they had kind of a different complete set of rules.
Yeah.
I liked just the updates with technology and things like that.
That was cool. The chats, online chats,
that
terrifying.
Type of stuff. Because it's like, I'm just very nervous. I just need somebody to take control, and then I'm gonna murder you. It's just that whole scene where he goes after the photographer's friend in her like apartment, where she's like
her manager.
Her manager,
yeah.
Where
but
she's
her manager was such a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
She's just like, she's just, and then he got caught in it. Like that was like also a great thing for me for like a strong female lead.
Yeah.
She actually like just picked it apart by his one sentence. It wasn't like he had to like sit there and bring out the 3 dead bodies out of the closet to show her like, I'm the killer. It was just like, hey, you're acting really strange, and you just gave me something. Like, I put 2 and 2 together. Like, she worked it out really quick, and she's like, get the fuck away. I love how quick she was just like, knife, stay away from me, bro. Like,
it escalated
like,
quick.
Holy shit. Which was great. And then, like, oh my god, her neighbor that comes in to try to help.
Dunzo.
Fuck, meat cleaver to the fucking mouth, like, hey. That
was good.
And then he still gets up, man. I was like, oh, how is he doing that? It's just his jaw just bouncing around.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
But yeah, no, I like both of these films. I couldn't say which one I liked. If I had to pick one, I'd go with the original, just because I really dug it. As a first time watch, after seeing like all these little clips, finally being able to watch it all in order, I thought it was great.
I think I really like the 2012 version.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's divided. And that's perfect. Let us know what you think in the comments below about either of these movies, or if we missed one of your favorite parts. We'd love to hear from you. Do you have anything else you want to tap on?
I have one last little tidbit that I want to leave, especially with the ladies viewers. It just seems like a correlation for horror movies. I don't know if this is like maybe an origination of like the Oedipus complex of like, females having this like impact, but it feels to me that women are being held responsible for these like serial killers. Like every single horror movie where there's a psychotic killer, it's because the mother had sex with men. I mean, I'm not saying his mother was like a saint. It looked like she was a prostitute having sex in front of people, but she's being held accountable. We have Halloween, we have Friday the 13th. There just seems like there's not enough dads being held responsible, but maybe the dads are like the bullies. Like the guys grow up and they're like bullies.
You get like the stepfather or whatever.
Yeah. But I just feel like the single mothers are getting a bad rep.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, they got enough shit on their plate. They don't need to be strangled to death after, like, trying to provide for their kid. You know, he just didn't appreciate it. You know, neither did Norman Bates when he was a kid. You know what?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man? Like, that's actually, I got serious Norman Bates vibes watching the original.
Yeah.
I was like, this is kind of like, what was it? Part 3 or whatever, where they elaborated on that, where he like, killed his wife, or killed his mom and her boyfriend or whatever, who was kind of a weird, shady dude, but I don't know. It was whichever one Mick Garris directed. I can't remember. It was maybe 4. But I totally agree with that. Yeah, like, dudes need to be held accountable for this shit. There's just as much shitty parents.
Yeah.
There's 2 parents for every kid. They're both responsible. Fully agree with that. 100%. And that's, like, the funny part, too, is, like, people are gonna be like, no. Like, in the comments. And it's like, no, yeah, it'd be great. Like, I feel like kind of Hellraiser is kind of like that.
Yeah.
Where, like, the dad and his brother were the shitty people who kept getting, even though his new wife was kind of terrible.
Yeah.
But
evil stepmoms are always to blame too.
Totally. So, yeah, totally. You know what? It's getting deep on the show.
Just a side note I had to bring up.
You know, think about things. Don't just sit and watch the movie. Think about the full picture. Oh shit. But for the Bloody Ghost Show, I'm Matt. I can't thank you enough for coming along this journey with us.
I'm Madeline. Thanks again, guys.
We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you so much for watching that episode. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification button below.
And let us know in the comments below which was your favorite Maniac kill.
Stay screaming.
Stay screaming.